What a gloriously beautiful day it is today. And we started off with some really lovely misty rain. Very warm still. And the day warmed up to a beautiful sunshine. And it's very warm right now. As you can tell, it's absolutely glorious. There is some clouds hanging over, so before long there'll be patchy shadows coming over. But it's autumn. And that's typical for autumn. And then from this weekend, it starts to rain, and we will have rain every single day for 2 weeks. Not all day, but every single day there'll be bouts of rain, and a couple of days there'll be rain all day. So that is like someone flicking the switch for autumn. And of course that also means that winter is closer. And this week we're talking about winter preparation. If I haven't lost you already there, welcome to Blue Garden Cottage. Lovely to have you along. And I'm talking about my winter preparation plans, because as yet this week has been a very busy one with the dolls' houses and a little bit of gardening. But I have actually done my winter preparation planning. I don't know if you can see it. There you are. I've done some planning because I haven't been able to do a great deal more. I have made a start on some of my plants. I've started tidying up under here and moving plants around, like the sweet potatoes I've moved down onto the ground behind the drum, so it has a bit more protection from the winter rain, because it'll come full force that way, and sweet potatoes do not like cold wet. So I'm giving them a little bit of a shelter. I just have to remember to water them when needed and keep an eye out for the slugs. So, what have I got planned for my winter preparation? Of course, some winter preparations start way back in the spring. I mean, there are some plants, growing vegetables, that you need to plant way back in the spring for over the winter. If you want to harvest certain things over winter, or into, before spring arrives next year. So, yeah, different things start at different times of the year. I haven't been that diligent this year. As you know from previous videos, it's been, as it is for most people, a really strange year this year. Nothing has gone to plan. However, we are getting on with a few things. So, to sit down and decide, okay, what am I going to do for my winter preparation? What things do I need to do? What's appropriate for my household and our family? What do we need to do for us to prepare for winter? I know my weather, which we usually, it's kind of the same every year, even though every year it's getting less and less chance of snow, because we haven't had a proper snow for a few years now. A few flutterings and that is it. However, we do get frost, we do get cold, we do get a lot of rain at times. We get huge amounts of rain in one go, and then nothing for a long time, because we've had dry spells over winter for the past 3 years. This year's particularly been a lot less rainfall than there has been in the years before, especially where I am anyway, in this part of South Wales. So I'm getting to know our weather a bit more and getting to know what we kind of need. However, I do still like to have a few things prepared just in case by some chance we do have another deep winter like we had a few years ago. So like making sure we've got proper waterproof and cold-proof boots, waterproof jackets, really warm gloves and hats and scarves. So I will be making sure that in different areas of our home, we'll be doing all sorts of things to make sure we're ready. I've separated my winter preparation as, just to get things straight in my head, I have got house, clothes, kitchen, bathroom, garden and car. Those are the things I've got down for winter preparation in those categories. And then I went through each section for the house. What kind of things do I need to do for our home? And a few of the things are like, find the hot water bottles and check that they're still okay, because sometimes hot water bottles, if they're old, they can crack. The rubber tends to crack, and then they're more likely to burst. And there's a whole there is the right way to use hot water bottles and not. So maybe I think I'll do a video on the proper use of hot water bottles nearer the end of autumn, actually, when it starts getting a lot colder, because there are safe ways of using a hot water bottle. So I'll do that closer to the time. As I've mentioned in the previous video, things like changing the bedding for winter bedding, like changing my sheets out from cotton to fleecy sheets, or the lighter quilts for the heavier duvets ready for the winter, but only as it gets colder. You know the change, you can feel it. So we get kind of into a medium bit now, where it's too cold for a thin quilt but too hot for a duvet. So we just put a proper blanket on top of the quilt, and it's perfectly fine and comfortable. So there's that, autumn is that kind of funny stage where you need to wear lots of layers. You know, it's cold in the morning, but before midday it's boiling hot. So you get a bit of every season in one day. Okay, so things like clean and tidy the tumble dryer condenser. I do that twice a year, end of winter and beginning by, you know, in the autumn. Check the curtains. I've got to have heavier curtains, lined curtains, to keep more drafts out. Make sure there are curtains. I've got, as you've seen in one of the videos, I'll put a link to that in the corner of the video, whichever direction you're going to see it. To when we put a curtain up in the entrance hall, and it has actually made a very big difference to drafts in the house. So we are going to put some by the back doors as well. We've got the side entrance that goes from front to back, so we'll have to put 2 curtains up there as well to help keep, because I know that is a bit of a drafty place and can be quite cold. So things like that, especially considering everybody knows about it now. Everyone's talking about it, especially here in the UK. I don't know about elsewhere, but the price hikes for our energy supply, whether that be gas or electric, is just... I just had my bill last week, and already it's gone up £10 a month. So it's quite dear, really. And we do switch everything off before we go to bed at night. And we don't, you know, there's a lot of things that we do to save fuel. So it's not about how much fuel we're using, actually, that's pushed the prices up. Those are things out of our control. So it needs us being even more frugal with our energy use, and finding alternative ways of keeping warm and dry. That is not easy during the winter, when you cannot hang washing out to dry, and you're not using the heating, so the dampness from hanging clothes in the house tends to fill the house, and you get problems with mold and stagnant air. So yeah, we hang clothes up until they're almost touch dry, and then air them and finish them in the tumble dryer to use less energy. So we never dry clothes in the dryer from wet when they come out the machine, because that just uses way too much energy. Tumble dryers are terrible for using energy anyway. But so those are just some of the things we're doing to save on energy, and part of our planning for winter. And maybe even in the winter, we're not doing that much hard physical work, so we shouldn't be needing to change our clothes so more often. So, and also considering wearing overalls to protect our clothes from getting dirty if I'm doing the crafting and working with paint and stuff like that. I have scruffy clothes that I wear for those tasks anyway, but I can make them last longer by wearing an apron. So things like that. How could we reduce the amount of laundry that we produce? What can we do? So that's the kind of thing we're thinking of. Changing our clothes in the wardrobe, swapping out the summer clothes for more autumnal and winter clothes. So putting them in the cupboards and drawers that are easiest and closest to reach, and further away to reach you put the summer stuff. So it's just swapping the accessibility of our winter for summer clothes. things like that. What else? All the windows, they always get it clean in the autumn, spring and the autumn, so they need doing. What else? Oh, the chimney. We'd normally sweep the chimney end of summer, beginning of autumn. However, we've only used the wood burner 4 times when we put it in. That was it. We never used it since. And it's a brand new one, so we don't really have to do that this year, but we will do it as soon as the weather warms up come March next year, because we won't be using the fireplace past March unless we get freak weather like we did a few years ago in the April. So that, okay, the chimney needs to be swept much earlier before it's needed. And of course the blacking, because our wood burners, the cast iron, we put the blacking on to protect it from getting rusty, but you need to do that long before it gets used so that the fumes can evaporate out before you turn it on. Otherwise you're going to end up with a house full of smoke. So we did the blacking on ours last month, so that by the time we get to use it, then we won't have a house full of smoke and fumes. Oh, the candles, make sure we've got our candles to the ready, and also remembering candle safety. That's another video I shall do during the cooler months, when we're using candles, on safe candle use. Most people wouldn't want us to use candles at all, especially the fire service, because there are so many house fires that are started because of candles, because they're not used safely. So I think I'll do a video on the safe use of candles during the winter. What else is there? Light bulbs. Check all the light bulbs. Make sure I get a few in extra, because it's usually in the winter when the light bulbs go. We use them a bit more. And even though we've got the eco ones, the LED eco ones, we've had them for quite a few years, so it's about time some of them go. They'll probably be going, so we'll need to replace them. So I'll make sure I've got some of them installed just in case. Oh, and the torches, make sure we've got batteries for the torches and the fairy lights, the LED ones. Okay, so then we've got the kitchen. What I need to do for the kitchen is rotate the food storage, make sure we keep going through that and replacing it, especially thinking about wintertime. It's more one-pot meals, whether that's one-pot or one-dish meals like stew, soups, bakes, breads, cookies, stuff like that. We do more baking. So make sure we've got all our store cupboard stuff ready, in case we just can't get out, or just to make sure that we have the appropriate stuff for the season. Then the bathroom, get some curtains up in the bathroom, even though I don't like curtains in the bathroom because they could it's a damp area, the bathroom, really. Even with an extractor fan in the bathroom, it still can get moldy. So I'll just have to remember to have 2 sets of curtains, and at least once every month take them down to give them a wash and a proper air in the tumble dryer before, and put the others up so that I can rotate them. But at least that'll keep a warmer feeling in the bathroom. Bathrooms are so cold sometimes, and I think it's because of that toilet down pipe. I am sure it draws cold air through down the down pipe. What else in the bathroom? The medicine cabinet. Make sure we've got our little winter remedies ready. Keep on top of the mold with the windows not open as often in the bathroom. It will have mold with the damp building up, even with the extractor fan. It's a rubbish one we've got, but it's just a good idea to have a squeegee in the bathroom as well, so that when you finish in the shower or the bath, just take a squeegee to all the tiles and wipe everything down so that there's not moisture hanging around for longer, to help prevent more mold. So those are the things we're thinking about, and I need to get a squeegee up in that bathroom. I need a new rug in the bathroom. The one we've got is now threadbare. That could be dangerous. I think that's about it for the bathroom. Oh, and the stairs and the landing. I need to put curtains up. We don't have curtains on the landing at all. We've got some net up the top window on the landing, and the privacy clear patterned sticky back plastic on the window downstairs, because I don't like nets. but that's all I've got upstairs, so that's what I'm using until I can get some of that sticky back stuff for the other window. At the same time, I don't really want plastic. We're trying to reduce the amount of plastic, so I will get some voile to put on the inside of the window. But for the outside, to make it warmer for the winter, I need to put curtains up because it adds an extra layer of draft excluder. Even though we've got double glazed windows, it does still feel cold, and it's not because there's drafts. It's just that cold air from outside hitting the warmer air inside and making the condensation, and it does come into the house. You leak warmth out of your windows, so even if they're shut, so it's a good idea to have another layer. And of course, with all this winterizing of our homes, we also have to remember during the winter that at least once a day, even if it sounds quite counterproductive, early in the day, open the windows, or as soon as it starts warming up a bit during midday, open all the windows and the doors for a short while just to blast through fresh air, because it's in winter when we're all sealed up in our homes that the air gets stale and we harbour some of these little seasonal bugs that hang around. So to refresh the air and help prevent mold, just blast through some fresh air just for a few minutes every day makes a huge difference. And have good house plants that help to filter the air as well. Take care of your house plants in the winter especially. And of course we do need to sort out those stairs at some point and find something out, another way to warm up that area. But I think curtains will make a big difference during the colder months. So make sure we get some thermals, check that we've got all the gloves and scarves and hats sorted so that we've got matching gloves, because I have often found one glove and not the other, so we end up buying some more, and then at occasions we've got about 5 or 6 pairs of gloves. So it's a good idea, and I usually keep them all in the same bag. Then there's the garden. Now in the garden I've separated that up into categories like the shed, the wood store, the outdoor oven, the potting shed, the veranda, the compost and the paths. So there are little things I need to do for all of those. Okay. In the shed I need to check on it at least every week to make sure it's not getting damp in there, because we still haven't changed the windows, we still haven't got electric in there, and we still, you know, so I need to put a convection. If it feels a bit damp, I'll put the convector heater on in there for a little bit while I'm working in there, but I won't leave it on if I'm not in there, because that's not safe for one, and it's a waste of energy. So when I'm working in there, I'll have it on for a little bit just to warm it up and dry it out a little bit while I'm in there. And keep an eye on the wood store, make sure it stays dry. Also the outdoor oven that you saw, I'll put a link to that video as well, that we've only used it, heated it up a couple of times. We've not really had to use it. The first time we used it, I saw there were a few cracks in the outer casing, so we filled those, and that came because of around the door where the concrete had dried and pulled away from the metal, so it was actually seeping between the drum and the outer casing of the fireproof clay. So I filled those, and I need to heat. I did heat it once and we didn't see any leaks, but because it's been a while since we've used it, I need to heat up. I need to get the oven going, so I shall make a loaf of bread. Instead of just wasting that fuel, I will make sure I get bread dough ready so that I could fire that up and use it at the same time as checking if there are any leaks and making sure I fix that before it's even actually needed. The potting shed needs clearing out and cleaning and keeping going in there. I'm trying to revamp that and make it work much better and get it warmer, actually, because there's such a draft that comes through there. I can very rarely ever grow anything under there during the winter. The veranda, I've started cleaning that already, and then I have plans for Christmas time. I shall get this decorated a bit more, make it cozy for when we're out. So when we come out, I'll put out some nice cushions and blankets and a table cover and just make it feel nice. The Christmas lights are already up, so I need to turn them on and check there's no bulbs that need replacing. But yeah, I need to check them and make sure they're okay. So that this feels low, so we could still use this outdoor space even in the winter. So we could have some hot chocolate out here and sit and chat and still get some fresh air even in the winter. So that's what I want to do. Make the garden winter friendly to still be used. The compost needs turning again. It was supposed to have been done this week, but might be a little while now because we're going to have rain every day for the next 2 weeks. And I have the coconut fiber mat that came off that single bed that I'm going to use as cover for the compost, just to keep the heat in a bit more during the winter. And the paths need to be kept clear, clean and safe because of ice during the winter. So they just need a good brushing every now and again. That's it, I think. And then the car, of course. The car, that's the last one. What kind of things do we need to have ready for the winter? That is the windscreen cover to stop the ice building up, because I don't like to use the de-icer. It's not nice to have those chemicals. I'll have some grit. I'll have bags of grit ready to sprinkle on the paths, because again, I don't like using the salt. That just poisons the soil. So I'll make sure we've got some grit for the paths. I will have a dehumidifier, a standalone dehumidifier to put inside the car to stop it freezing on the inside of the windscreen. What else was there? Scrapers just in case for the sides, windscreen wash, antifreeze. Yeah, so those are kind of practically the only things we need to do, and double check the tire pressures, make sure the car is right for winter, all the lights are working. Those are things you're just supposed to check every week anyway, regardless of the season and the weather. Check your breakdown cover, make sure your breakdown cover is up to date. May need winter tires. We don't need to make those changes because our car has all-weather tires, which are perfectly fine because we don't have extreme winters down here where we are. Sometimes if you're in extreme weather areas, you need blankets and shovels and sorts of things in the car, but you need to decide what is needed for yourself. And sometimes your weather bureau where you are will have advice for the appropriate things you need to do for those seasons, and what you need to have in your area in your car. Plenty to be getting on with. I shall be pinning these things on my Kanban board so that I can achieve things. Some of them are just little things that won't take much time, and others will. So I am prioritizing what I buy when I get groceries and thinning down some of the varieties and getting things back to basics, just so that I can slowly replenish that food storage, so that if we do get an extreme winter, it doesn't matter and we can't get out, we've got the stuff in. I'm trying to get stuff while it's still affordable. We just don't know how long this price hike nonsense is going to keep going on for. So I think out of just general preparedness, but there are more preppers that are just everyday people trying to make sure that they've got everything they need, suitable for the time and the seasons. That's the kind of prepper I am. Simple as that. There's nothing extreme about that. So let's stay realistic, though. I'm not taking things overboard, trying not to get into debt to make sure we've got everything we need, using what we have, doing the frugal make, do and mend stuff. Once winter gets here, there's no time for prepping for winter. You're already in it. During the winter, you're prepping for spring. And that's why come the end of the year, I usually do my end of the year review and planning for the next. And in amongst all of that planning, I have my garden plans and what I want to grow that year, so that by the time the spring comes, I've got everything I need. I know exactly where things are going, and it just makes the things smoother. So let's have a smooth flow into the seasons, enjoy it a bit. So thinking about winter preparations, what I've done for ourselves, for our home, what is your winter preparation list? What things do you need specific to your area, your lifestyle, your family and home? What kind of things do you do for your winter preparation? Do let me know. I'd love to hear. It'd be so interesting to get a whole conversation going about what we do for our winter preparations and when we start and interesting things like that. So do let me know in the comment section below whether you're doing it on YouTube. Just remember, if you're not a subscriber, you can't make comments on the YouTube, but if you're on Facebook, you can, because I will post every week. I post the videos on the Facebook page as well, so Facebook friends can comment in the comments section of the Facebook post. So there's that for you. I hope it gets you thinking. I hope it gets you planning and prepping in your own way that's appropriate for you to make sure you are ready for winter. If you're in the southern hemisphere, your planning will be very different because you're going into spring and summer. So I wonder what kind of prepping you're doing for those. It would help me to know if there's something I've forgotten that I could do for our situation. Oh, painting of the shed. We haven't painted the shed. We've painted most of it. There's one back wall that hasn't been done, and we need that doing. Oh, and the guttering. We need to make sure there's stuff to protect the guttering from leaves falling in the autumn. That should have been done back in July. And as I said, the connections for the water, but I wanted to change to elbow joints, plumbing elbow joints, so that the hose pipes are hanging down, because as the cold and the heat change, the pipes sag and then they kink right by the joint. So I want to put elbow joints in so that the hose pipe connections are hanging down rather than bending. That's what I got to do. Better remember that. Put that on the list now before I forget. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to love you and leave you. Get back to me on what you're doing, and I hope to see you next week when we are talking. Oh, there's another week of the month next week, so I'm going to let you in on a little bit more of that secret thing I'm doing that I want to share with you. Just a bit more, almost there. So yeah, exciting times, and I shall speak to you next week. Until then, take care, stay safe, and get ready for the cold.